That's the trouble. The mic works better when it's turned on. It's been a while since I've done any crossword puzzles. Totally don't remember if I even have an account with them. Changed a lot about my. Got some new monitors, changed the layouts, so everything is in a different place. None of the windows are sized correctly. They'll be fine. It's fine. It's all fine. Except I've never watched Stranger Things. So the first two clues don't help me, because I can't tell you about the actresses, and I can't tell you about recurring breakfast brings. Something that's not cooked is raw. Go into office is sharp smelling. So is this a creature that is good at smelling things, like a hound? Or is this a smell that is sharp, like pungent is too long, sour is too short? Stinky is too long. Come back to it. Author and content creator Rala. Does not ring any bells. God in Arabic is probably Blank Valley, German wine region. I don't drink, so wine is not my specialty. Let's see, important valley regions of Germany. I'm trying to think back to high school German class, maybe the Rhine. R-H-E-I-N. That ends with an E there. I don't remember whether Rhine is 5 letters or 6 letters. Go back to that. It's the thing about crossword puzzles, right? You can always come back when you have more information. Los Alamos, New Mexico, I have heard of. Large breed of cat named after a U.S. state. It's going to be Maine County. Solid Republics is both. Theme park transportation option. Transportation, like roller coasters and love flumes, like the rides, or like monorail, light transit, maybe just rail. Buses, golf carts, EDM compilation. Say. When they say like that, does that mean it's a pun? I feel like that means it's a pun. I don't really know anything about EDM in the first place, so that doesn't help. Throw away 4 letters. Give it toss. Actually, you can ignore that warning. Can you get that line? Does not. So I don't want to show mistakes. showing mistakes feels like cheating. If you've ever done newspaper crosswords, I know. Newspapers, physical newspapers, that's for old people. I used to make little booklets of crossword puzzles too, back before smartphones. I made little paperback books with various kinds of puzzles that you could give to kids for going on car rides. What if they still make those? I feel like you shouldn't give children below a certain age cell phones. Yeah, there's a lot of concern that that will mess with their development in some way or another. I don't know if there's any really good evidence because you can't really run a really good trial where you give half the kids cell phones and give half the kids pen and paper. You can kind of do retrospectives. You could go back and analyze the results based on, the parents' choices, right? Because there are, like, I know 5-year-olds that have cell phones. So in 20 years, we can go back and see if that made a difference. Yeah, it's always hard to run real clinical trials on anything involving humans, especially involving children. Lots of ethical questions. You definitely can't do anything that gotta phrase this in a way that doesn't get taken out of context. If you know something is bad for children, you can't do that to children on purpose. Right? You can't intentionally harm a child just to compare it to something new that you want to test. That's why the standard for human trials is to compare things to the current best known option rather than comparing it to doing nothing. Right? And that's true for human trials in general. Right? If you're testing a new treatment for a disease and that disease already has an okay treatment, right? You test the new treatment against the old treatment to see if it's better. You don't test the new treatment against placebo and just let the people with the placebo come to harm. That's not ethical. Yeah. It's kind of always the trouble with testing things in humans is you have to try not to harm anybody in the process. I say that's the problem. That's not the problem. That's the goal. The goal is to not harm anybody in the process. Just makes getting clear results much harder. Right? That's why there's always so much churn on diet. Right? Say, is artificial sweetener number 1 better than artificial sweetener number 2, better than corn syrup, better than cane sugar, better than, right? You can't test that, right? Because because nobody sticks to a strict enough diet that you can pick apart which one is which, but B, because making sure that each participant consumes enough of corn syrup or sugar or artificial sweeteners to get a clear result could potentially harm them, because we know that they're all asterisk bad for you in some way or another, right? Asterisk is the usual everything is bad for you if you eat enough of it. Right? A little bit of sugar doesn't do you any harm. That said, you should not eat raw sugar, because if you're eating raw sugar, you're almost certainly getting too much of it. But getting some sugars in your diet is normal. Basically, all fruits and vegetables contain some sort of sugar. May not be sucrose. Sucrose is table sugar. Right. But the reason we eat plants is because they have carbohydrates in them, and our body breaks carbohydrates down into sugars. It's efficient chemical energy storage for biological use. That's the whole point. But you can't, like I was saying about trials, you can't feed somebody a diet of pure sugar to see what results it has, because we know that's going to be bad. We don't know exactly how it's going to be bad. We don't know whether it's going to be worse than eating pure corn syrup. Right, but we know both of those are bad, so you can't run a trial like that. That's not that's not ethical. The history of scientific experimentation has some pretty terrible things, and this is one of the decisions that we've made, is that you can't intentionally harm test subjects. Right, that's more mad scientist than it is modern experimentation. Let's see. Actually, you can ignore that warning. It's the clue in the crossword puzzles. You do not ignore my previous warning about unethical experimentation. It's not ignorable. Not let's see. Wasn't, never mind. We cancel that. I don't know. I think a few things, but none of them seem to fit. Move furtively. Sneak. Sneak. That girls. Belonging to a girl. Hurts. Move on. For example. Happy now. Happy now. Did you get what you wanted? It's too long. I think the quotes mean that it's a phrase, so multiple word clues are always harder. Well, not always, but it's the sort of thing where you kind of get close and then you fill in particles and adjectives at the end. BB-8's Jedi friend. So this is going to be from the newer movies. I saw 7 when it came out. And I can kind of picture the character that they're talking about. But I really don't remember anything about it. It was just that underwhelming. I mean, I get that right. Disney's kind of trying to reboot the series for people who never really watched the originals. Kind of like Lucas tried to reboot the series, you know, in the late 90s, early 2000s. And it seems to be making the money, so they're going to keep doing it. But I feel like some of the creativity has faded. Right? Like the original Star Wars was not a big budget CGI film. It was plastic models and a bunch of people out filming in the desert. Kinda. If they all knew what they were doing, it was not an indie film by any means. Right, but I think it was a case where some of the technical limitations really sparked creativity, right? Sometimes having a limit causes you to work harder and come up with new solutions in other places, in other ways. And that can really show. Whereas I feel like a lot of movies these days are formulaic is not quite the right word, but they've learned how to take an existing IP and give it a veneer of spectacle and grandness that sells without really adding anything new. That's why I'm so skeptical of sequels and reboots and remakes. Warts and all. I don't know. Maybe a toad? If I understand correctly, warts are usually caused by a minor viral infection of the skin that causes excess expression of keratin-producing genes. That's what warts are. Warts are skin with too much keratin in it. Keratin is the stuff that our hair and fingernails is made out of, and our skin has Our skin has keratin too. It makes it, it's part of what makes it waterproof and durable and stretchy. But keratin doesn't fit here, so I'm thinking maybe they're talking about tones. Slowly eat into. Maybe decay? Dissolve is too long. Oxidize is too long. Although it may not be talking about like eating into like an acid. It may not be talking about oxidation or like chemically. It might be like nibble or munch, something like that. Software for an iPad, for example. Like an application. That's too long. Also, right, I would say applications is for computers in general, it's not for iPads in specific, but I don't know. What kind of software specifically for iPads? I don't know what they're going for here. I do not know. Do you have blank ideas? Any? Do you have any ideas? Any is the idea that I have. Slow love songs. Maybe ballads? Ballads are slow and frequently about love. I'm not sure if that's a requirement. Kids. We'll leave it there as it works. Reddish brown color. Rust. Adobe. Fire. Brick. Would guess rust, probably. Well, put rust in there provisionally and see if it works later. Actor Hemsworth. 4 letters. I feel like there's more than one actor named Hemsworth. I can't think of any 4-letter first names that seem to go with Hemsworth in my head. Names are not my strong suit, especially names involving pop culture. Pop culture is not my thing. I feel like at least one of the Hemsworth is involved with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I've seen some of those movies. But then we're back to my earlier complaints about taking existing IPs and filling them with explosions. Sure. Use your brain. This is like a saying phrase. If they didn't have the quotes there, I would say probably think. Because when you use your brain, you're thinking. But I'm not sure that's what they're going for, because usually the quotes means that they're looking for a phrase of some sort. If I recall correctly. It's been a while since I've done a crossword puzzle. We put think on the back burner, and if we get letters later that seem to fit that, then we'll put it in. But I'm not convinced that that's against is going to be 4. Insect in a colony. Are you talking about like an individual type of insect? Like, do they want ant, I guess is my question? Or are they looking for like drone, worker, queen, like a position in an insect colony? Although the only thing that I can think of that's short enough to go in there is egg, and I don't think it's egg. Opportunity to showcase a potato battery or a baking soda volcano. Those are stereotypical science fair projects. But don't they're not necessarily bad. Right. Despite all my harping about creativity in movies, you don't necessarily need to be creative in a science fair. The reasoning is that it's all new to the kids. They're seeing all of it for the first time. Science fairs are not about, publishing new discoveries. They're about the kids learning things. Raya director reads. I assume that's a movie. But I know directors even less than I know actors. And I've never even heard of Raya, so take it or leave it. Yeah, there's no point in getting upset about doing the same basic science experiments over and over again, right? Because there's always somebody who hasn't seen them as a learning experience for them. Now, if you're a graduate student and you're doing potato batteries or baking soda volcanoes, I expect you to add some sort of twist to it. Yeah, because if you're just saying baking soda plus vinegar releases carbon dioxide, that's why baking soda volcanoes work. If you're one of those people who haven't ever seen a baking soda volcano, it's because baking soda is sodium bicarbonate. Carbonates are compounds that contain carbon and oxygen, right? So typically when you expose them to an acid, one of the oxygens will go with the hydrogens that are being released by the acid. That's, if you ever wondered what an acid is is a chemical that has free hydrogen ions. Right? That's all it is. It has extra positively charged hydrogen, with no electron floating around, right? And that tends to glomp onto things because it's a small charged particle. It's very reactive. It's why acids eat into things. Right, but likes to glomp onto carbonates because they have extra oxygens available. So turn the oxygens into water and release carbon dioxide with what's left, the carbons and the oxygens that are left. And that's why baking soda and vinegar foam up, is because vinegar is acetic acid, has free hydrogen ions to use. So it produces water, carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide makes bubbles. It's very cool. Sorry, that was a little bit sarcastic. It's moderately cool. Take a chance. The act of taking a chance, or a way of taking a chance, like flip a coin, roll those dice, to gamble, to risk, or is it a little bit more, not literally a chance, but like go on an adventure? Sort of adjective. Not even sure if they're looking for an adjective or a verb. Make a mistake. Probably error. Because that's a word that crossword puzzles like, because it can fit into little spaces in the corners. Both largely replaced by GPS. Particularly road atlases in this case. There are other types of atlases than road atlases. A lot of them have. They're not just roads, but also geography or politics or economic atlases. You used to be able to get books that would give you breakdowns by region of agriculture, like what crops are being produced, or major imports and exports, things like that. Of course, these days you can get all that on Wikipedia, so those have also basically been replaced. Stories, 5 letters. So stories has at least 2 meanings. It can mean floors in a building, or it can mean like the kind that's written in books. At 5 letters, I would guess it's probably tales. Like tall tales. Floor is too long to put the S for the plural at the end, and it was stories plural. Clothesline. It's a seam. That was a pun. Pasta blank norma. I don't know what pasta alla norma is, but it's almost certainly alla. Like in the way of norma. It's the way that norma has her pasta. Or his pasta. is, or how they eat their pasta. Where to order pastrami on rye? Tell me. Sorry, it's a secret. Can't say. Vanish into the sunset. Abyss. One across is a name, so it's probably Sadie, which would make this vanish into the ether. Ether is a disproven scientific concept. Might be better to say vanish like the ether, as we've discovered that there is no physical medium in outer space through which light is transmitted. Yeah, it's from the idea that that light is a wave and waves are transmitted through a medium. Is kind of the idea of the ether. But light is transmitted through the electric and magnetic fields. So I guess in a sense you could say that the medium is just space-time itself. That kind of works. Reverberation. Attitude that values relentless hustle and overwork. Burnout. Toxic corporate culture. Disregard for your employees' well-being and life balance. Someone who doesn't understand that overwork leads to inefficiency. It's almost always better to hire 3 full-time workers than to hire 2 full-time and a half workers. Figure that one out when we have more letters. Let's see. Negroni, basically nothing around letters. It's with 3-letter names. I don't even know if it's kind of drink. I assume they're talking about a liquor to drink, not liquor like an extract. Yeah, so Negroni, I would assume it's a brand name. Poetic tribute is the ode. Feeling that reading a book in a warm bath might provide. Station. So it's one word. Tons. A lot. I assume that when we say a lot and mean big, it's because a space lot. Like a lot is a collection or a production run, or like a Like it's a size. It's like saying a pallet of a crate of. It just kind of got generalized to mean a number large enough that I'm not going to bother counting it. Wish you were here. No, I don't. That would be strange if you were here. That defeats the whole purpose of streaming. The point of streaming is that I am here and you're somewhere else listening on the computer. I'm glad you're here, quote unquote, here in the channel, listen, but not here in my house, if that makes sense, because that would be strange. An enticing smell. Five letters, third letter O. Scone. Scones smell nice, but I doubt that's what they're going for. C and the D give me sharp smelling, though. It's acrid. Rhine spelled R-H-I-N-E. Okay. I thought it was R-H-E-I-N. Although it's possible that it's spelled differently in English and in German. So, could be both. That gives us this one, which is half blank rhyming latte specification. So if it rhymes with half, and if it's part of a latte, about calf, I don't drink coffee either. Because it doesn't taste good. Yeah, I know, controversial opinion. Cancel me. Coffee does not taste good. It smells good. And it's entirely possible that I have simply not tried enough kinds of coffee and that there's a coffee out there somewhere that I would like. But I don't know that the value I would get out of finding a kind of coffee that I like is worth the amount of effort I would have to put in to find that kind of coffee. Because I like tea anyway, right? So if I need caffeine, and mostly I drink decaf tea anyway, but if I needed caffeine, I would get it from tea. But tea I actually like. I like how coffee smells, though, not how it tastes. Frying meat. Unless you believe in air frying, which is convection cooking by any other name. Although I have heard that the different configuration of the airflow, the air coming up from the bottom in a quote-unquote air fryer, does actually make a difference as compared to a convection oven, which tends to circulate the air sideways swirly pattern. Convection oven is basically just an oven with a fan in it. Whereas there, something about pumping the air from the bottom. Is it different? I haven't actually tested it. The X does tell me what the EDM compilation is. Probably a remix. Star Trek Picard actress Ryan No, if Ryan is the first name or the last name. Okay. So it's a name. And like always, names will have to be filled out with all the other letters. Okay, this is a mess altogether. Russian letters of stalker. Like a lawyer who's been paid to be available to a client who's on retainer. Yeah. See you later. Yeah. See you. See ya later. Ray. Okay, yeah, that's the name of the character from the Star Wars movie. So that checks out. Yeah, I totally forgot her name. Since yeah, it was fine. Just didn't stand out somehow. Tibet's capital. This I feel like I should know. It's not coming to me. When we get another letter, I'm gonna not. It's gonna come into my brain, and I'm gonna feel well. Yeah, I know that. I know that answer is in my brain somewhere. It's just not surfacing. Like a high, thin voice. Is this like something to do with singing? Like soprano or falsetto? Is it more descriptive? Like tinny? Alvin and the Chipmunks? Created, probably. Eucalyptus loving marsupial. Not new. Four letters is too many for old. Seven across is probably R U something. It's like we were saying earlier. It's R U. Satisfied? It actually looks like it fits. $38 down, not new. Used. Stop fidgeting. Sit still. It's not a nice thing to say to somebody. Right. If they're fidgeting, either A, you're not interesting, or B, they're stimming. Trying to force a little kid to sit still is... I mean, it kind of depends on the situation, I guess. But like, wiggling your foot or tapping your fingers, I don't think those really hurt anybody. Pen clicking, I guess it depends on whether or not there's anybody nearby. That's the opposing issue of being distressed by pen clicking. Some people find clicking comforting, and some people find it distressing. These two kinds of people don't always mix well. Greek life house. Satisfied. Skating sport. Not I skate sport, I skate park. Sport with clay pigeons. Okay, so it looks like use your brain is think. I don't know why they put that in quotes. Thor's sister and antagonist in Thor Ragnarok. Okay. Can we acknowledge that the whole Thor franchise is based on Nordic mythology? That he didn't invent Thor or Hela? Right? Like, it's not just Thor Ragnarok. It's thousands of years of mythology and tradition. No, it's fine. It's fine. People know these characters more from Marvel than they do from... I guess. Is it better than not having heard of these characters at all? I would probably say yes. Yeah, I mean, I guess at least a few people are gonna look up these people online and realize that there's so much more backstory. Also, is this background track? Is this just a buzzing noise? Is that an artifact of my speaker? I think I'm going to remove that one. And yes, my background music is just a list of YouTube provided songs that do not have attribution requirements because I haven't figured out how to set up attribution directly into the stream. And some of them are quite good, so thanks to the people who contributed background music to YouTube, I guess, without requiring attribution. Someday I'll figure out how to set up attribution so that it puts those, you know, the name of the background song up in the corner or something. Bucket. The song is also a little dramatic. I would think this is probably hail. Yeah, this is not correct. This is more. This is pale. This is rice. Yeah, brown. Yes, you can be brown. A topic. But by itself, like. Usually when you mean it that way, you would use it as a prefix, not as a standalone word. So if you're pro rice, that means you're for rice. You like rice. Yes. Yep, I've definitely decided. The background song is also why the heck is my there's a code repository setup script in my music folder for some reason. That's not where that goes. How did that get in there? Store that in base user folder instead for now. This is Sonora, which I believe is abbreviated as NA. Not good in Spanish. Foldable bed is a cot. It's not abbreviated as NA, it's abbreviated as RA. So let's roll the dice. It's taking a chance. It's both an idiom and a way of taking a chance. I get you. Recurring breakfast brand in Stranger Things. E something something O. What's that? Eggo? It's frozen waffles, I think. I can kind of see why people might buy frozen waffles. Because if you buy a waffle maker, you have to A, pay for a waffle maker, and B, store a waffle maker. But once you have a waffle maker, making waffles is really easy. It's not tricky. And if you cook at all, you probably have all of the ingredients in your house already. It's just flour, salt, sugar, eggs, milk, and baking powder. And a little vanilla. I add vanilla in mine because I think it tastes good. You don't have to add vanilla, but personally I think it's fine. Yeah, now what I really don't approve of is people who buy waffle or pancake mix at the store. Right, because you're literally paying double for a bag that's mostly flour with a little bit of aforementioned salt, sugar, and baking powder mixed in. Right, you still have to have the eggs and the milk on your own. So it's kind of crazy. Right, you can add the salt, sugar, and baking powder manually. You can figure that out. I believe in you. I believe in your ability to take a spoon and add your own salt, sugar, and baking powder to your flour. Yeah, that's a straight up scam. Like pancake mix is literally a bag of flour for double the cost. And the thing is when you start measuring out the ingredients yourself, you'll find that you can actually change the ratios a little bit to make the final product more to your personal liking. Because that's the other thing about mixes, is they're all designed to be as broadly appealing as possible, right? They're not tuned to what you like. So do you like your pancakes a little bit fluffier? Right, you add a little bit more flour and a little bit more baking powder. You want them to be a little bit softer and more tender? A little bit more sugar will do that. If you like the really flat ones, kind of like crepe-like, you can add less baking powder and a little bit more milk. The other ingredient is some sort of oil, and that can really make a difference whether you use olive oil or butter. That can change things. Or recently I've been experimenting with trading the oil out with yogurt. That also works reasonably well. Makes it a lot, not a lot, but makes it softer. Still haven't quite got the texture exactly where I like it. But yeah, I also add oats to my pancakes sometimes. I like oats, and they're good for me. But yeah, once you know how to make basic pancakes, you can experiment. Big difference between pancake batter and waffle batter is waffle batter has more eggs and more oil in it. That's why they have that kind of... That plus the cooking method of the waffle iron is why they're stiffer and have a crispy outside. That's why straight pancake mix doesn't work quite as well if you try to make waffles with it. Add an extra egg and a little bit more oil. Actually, you can ignore that warning. It's a false alarm. I was bad about waffles because of Eggo. No, I'm not too bad about Eggo, because if you don't have a waffle iron, I guess throwing a frozen waffle in the toaster is fine. Works in all as is. Huh, but I have a mistake. Let's see, is it a spelling mistake? See, now, normally, well, not normally necessarily, but sometimes ether is spelled with an A, but it's usually an A in addition to the E, like A-E-T-H-E-R. Right, not instead of that would be ether, which I don't think is it. Okay. Let's see. Calf, go. Okay, so the grinner set doesn't seem to be a thing. So that's probably a D for grind set. A D mix instead of a remix. Guess EDM is about taking songs apart instead of putting them together. Kind of makes sense. And I actually don't know if EERI is a name or not. Okay, but the fact that it hasn't said "you win" suggests that there's another mistake in here somewhere. Gin is a type of liquor. Okay, that checks out. Fish. See you later. Okay. Checks out. Ta-da. I feel like I should have known that. I will admit I was not going to get it. Suspect letter. Don't have any way of asking if I got to answer. Disregard is false. Slowly leading towards a road. Okay, that checks software. Tablet. I don't know if that's a phrase. The meaning. Is it meaningful to distinguish tablet apps from other apps? Liam Hemsworth. Yeah. Liam is a name. Is it the right name? Don't know. Could be. I feel, like I said, I feel like there's more than one Hemsworth. Use your brain. Think. Against. Insect and colony. Ant. Yeah, I mean that three-letter word and it works with all of the down moves. Science fair. That could be a name. Change right now is my mistake. I guess we're gonna show the mistake. Okay, it is that E. I don't know what goes there. What would make 24 down a name? A for carry or a T for Terry? T? No. Let's see. A, B, C, D, F, G, T, Jerry. H, I, J, L, a DJ mix. Let's see. EDM compilation is a DJ mix. And the actress's name is Jerry. With a J, not a G. I'll accept my loss. I was not going to come up with DJ Mix. As you may suspect, I'm not big on the club scene. Sorry to say. I'm not that sort of fun. Play some number games. Yeah, I do like some of these games because they kind of exercise your arithmetic skills. Just them, you know, I don't do a whole lot otherwise. It's funny, you would think, oh, you have a math degree amongst other majors, but the farther you go in math, the less arithmetic you do. Sometimes it's nice just to flex the old brain muscles. Metaphor, you don't actually have muscles in your brain. It's a totally different type of tissue. Do some prime factorizations. Well, that's not really prime factorizations because we're looking for all the factors, not just the primes. So like 4, 1 and 2 and 4. It's not 2 though, because if it was 2, then the other one would have to be 2. We can't have 2 with the same number in the same line. So here, we have 2 slots, where 1 is a 4 and 1 is a 1. Doesn't matter which one is which, both of those numbers are used, similar to left, which means only 3 and 6 are left in this one. Okay, so if it was a 3, then this would have to be 8, but 8 is too big, it's not an option. So this was the 6, and that was the 4, 8, 24. And numbers that you can either divide by 2 or result from dividing by 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. 2 divided by 2 is 1, 4 divided by 2 is 2, 6 divided by 2 is 3. But the 6 is already used to this column. So 2, and that means we can't use the 3. So it's already used to the 4 in this column. So it's only the 2. So 8, and that checks out. This 3 plus 5 is 8. 6 again. Basically, not 5, because 5 divided by 2 is 2.5, and 5 times 2 is 10, which is too big. So 4, notice it's been used. That doesn't change anything, because this 2 here can also pair with the 1 down here. Here, for this 2, we only have 3 and 6, so this could be 6 divided by 2 is 3, or this 6 divided by 2 is 3 here. So, two numbers that sum to 5 means they have to be less than 5. 4 is used, which means that we can't have 1. 4 is sum to 5, so that's the 2 and the 3. Since we have two numbers in 2 slots, so that's the 6. So let's get rid of this 2, so that's the 1. That has to be 2. It's the only number that divides by 2 to get 1. Use the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. That's 5. The difference of 1 from 5. So that's 6. 2 in this column. So it's 5. Which means that this has got 5. So it's 2. 2 times 5 is 10. Let's see. Factors of 24. 1 is too small because that would require 24. 2 is too small because that would require 12. 3 is too small because that would require 8. 5 is not a factor. So 4 and 6. Let's see here, we've used the 1, the 2, and the 5. So 3, 4, 6. 6. Difference of 1, 5 is the only option. So it's not 6. So now we use 3, 4. So that's 6 there. So that one has to be 4. Which looks like 6. We use 2, 4, 5, and 6. So 3. That checks out because 3 divided by 3 is 1. Excuse me, it's a big yawn. So, which one of these is the most likely to get useful? Probably not difference of 1. It's difference of 1. Tends to just be all the numbers. Maybe 6 multiplies to 6. 1, 2, 3, and 6 are factors. used 2 and 6 in this. So that gets rid of the 3. So we get 1 times 6 or 3 times 2. Sums to 8s. 2, 3, 5, and 6. It's not a 1 because that would require a 7. 7's too big. It's not a 4 because 4 would require the other one to be a 4, and you can't put 2 4s. Narrow things down. This is not 4, 6. Difference of 2 resulting in 2 would require the 4. 2 doesn't pair with. So now it's not 3, 5. This column. This is the only square left that has 4 as an option. So that's not there. It's not 3 and 6 because we used this one's not 2. That tells us it's not 4. So that one's the 2. Still don't know whether it's the 4. It's not. It's the 6. It's not the 6. It's not the 2. Next thing we're going to find that this one is a 2. Explain why that one's a 2. It's this and this, and neither of these is a 2. But I'll flip those straight up. Show that it's not a 2, it's 6. This one's also 2, 6. So now, this is the only square in that column. It's a 2. Which means that's the 3. It's the 1. It's 2, 6. This one's the 2. throat's actually getting a little bit sore. I don't talk that much these days. It's been a while since I've tried to talk for this long on one sitting, so I think I'm going to sign out. So I'll give myself a sore throat. We'll work back up to it. I want to try to get back up to probably about 3 hours. I try streaming on Tuesdays and Thursdays. See how that goes. If that goes well, we'll add another day in. Probably that's 3 days a week. But thanks for stopping by. See you all later.